And I thought, what kind of crazy idea to prepare a talk about oneness. Is oneness something to talk about? So, I feel very attractive to oneness because oneness is the natural state of being. It's very natural. Oneness is the normal process of life itself. Oneness is an adventure, but it is the adventure of normality. Buddha, under the Bodhi tree, discovered that there is no separate self, no ego, no mine, no yours, no his, no hers. There is nothing but connectedness, nothing but oneness. The Tibetan teacher Dzogchen Rinpoche said, the state of enlightenment is too close and it is too apparent, so it is difficult to be discovered. Talk about this theme. How can I talk about something beyond words? From where do I get my knowledge? What kind of knowledge do I have? Do I have to be enlightened to talk about oneness? Clearly to say I am not. But I talk. And I talk because I feel an attraction to it. And I think I'm not the only one here in this room who feels an attraction to oneness. Attraction leads us our life path. Attraction opens our hearts to the divine. God can be perceived because he is attractive. It is the attraction to oneness which encourages me to talk. Several times, but I didn't realize oneness. The question arises, if ever somebody personally realized oneness. My teacher Mario Montese says that most people reach out for ego enlightenment. But the divine light and an understanding are not personal qualities. The word is not ego enlightenment, the word is enlightenment. What Buddha realized under the Bodhi tree was impersonal. Oneness only can be realized if there is no one. The realization of oneness requires the sacrifice of the ego. And there are a lot of misunderstandings about what that means. Now I'll continue reading a short part of Thich Nhat Hanh's understanding of the legend around Buddha's awakening. He said, Siddhartha under the Bodhi tree dived into a deep meditation, and he gradually became aware that just in this moment numberless other beings have been present in his body. Organic and inorganic beings, minerals, mosses, different grasses, insects, animals, and humans. His body, his being consisted of everything and everybody. Prince Siddhartha understood that what he called his body was everything. Countless beings, animals, plants, and minerals, beings born and unborn. All those were playing and functioning under certain conditions. The whole world was discovered in Siddhartha's body, but there was no substance, no identity which was Siddhartha. There is not an ego, not an independent self. There is no I. There is only emptiness. Mentions he has recognized God. If he has recognized something, then he recognized something and so has not recognized God. What is God? What is oneness? I don't know. I think I don't really know. But how can we know? Jack Kornfield describes in his book, The Wise Heart, a shamanic peyote ceremony in which he experienced oneness. I quote him. One night we sat at a big fire on a cliff over the Pacific. Don Jose had sung and drummed for hours. All of a sudden the world woke up for life. I had taken peyote and had thrown up a frequent reaction. Then the limits between the I and the other started to dissolve. Tree spirits came and danced. The fire turned to vivid images. The world of humans and animals got unified. I listened and talked to deer, salmons, to owls, and to the earthworm. They had been my brothers and sisters. At dawn, as the first daylight appeared, I felt unfolding the holiness of the earth, and I saw the divine. Oneness is. Many of you will have experiences with romantic situations. For some people, these moments may be the only ones who really made sense in their life. In these moments, the whole world seems to be magic. Your feelings, thoughts, worldviews, your unspoken wishes seem to be the same with your beloved one. And you include everything and everybody in your elevated mood. It seems to be a never-ending heaven of oneness. And you all will know what often happens when the honeymoon is finished. Andrew Cohen and Ken Wilber once said that the ideal of romantic in an intimate relationship is the main obstacle to realize love. The ideal of a romantic relationship is the main obstacle to realize oneness. And yet, the romantic ideal nowadays seems to be predominant for most intimate relations. For many people, this ideal rests covered in deep unconscious and currently plays out when the life situation is discovered as very normal. Often couples have difficulties during and after their marriage. They blame each other for this or that wrong behavior. They are disappointed, and sometimes, as a reaction to their disappointing lovers and as a revenge, of course, they dream from an ideal partner, an ideal girlfriend with all desirable qualities, a terrific, a real man, unconditional acceptance like a mother, and sexy like a superhero. Some may look for a twin soul partner or a dual soul while they live in disappointment and resignation with their real beloved ones. All these people dream from oneness. I think the mainstream couple therapy today mostly focuses on everyday life problems and a fair distribution of obligations and power, whereas these never-ending power struggles in relationships are reactive patterns related to the deep open wound being not able to realize oneness, the natural state of their cosmic being. Oneness in relationships. The first is what Sigmund Freud called the riddle of sadomasochism. The second is the very profound kind of abuse which until now isn't broadly recognized, the initial mother-child incest. Died very lonely, separated from herself and others. I had given a workshop at that time, and after finished, somebody called me about her death. An hour later, I had a full mystical experience of universal oneness. There was a sense of holy joy, happiness and peace. In a way, it was my mother's last gift for me. It's so difficult to realize oneness today. In the West, the spiritual path is very different from Eastern traditional ones. If you live in India or in another Asiatic country, then normally you lead your life with your family, you will have children, you bring in order your financial affairs, and then when you become 40 or so, and everything you succeeded in everything of your normal life, then many people are used going to an ashram, and they are asking a spiritual teacher, can I come to you learning the meditation to become enlightened? So in the Eastern countries, the normal life and the spiritual life is set up in levels. So and this theory sometimes is adapted also in the West. You know, all these levels we know from different levels of consciousness and so on. Ken Wilber is a good example who is doing this. Frequently, the spiritual path in the West differs from that. We say first we have to have a major ego, and then we can go to more subtle areas. But mostly this is not the case when people in the West journey spiritually. Mostly there is a synergy between personal and spiritual growth. People here in the West decide to do spiritual work even if they have many personal and relational problems. People in the West sometimes start their spiritual journey while they have children. Sometimes they use family crisis, divorces, spiritual emergency, and then they jump on the spiritual path. As I can see, in the West, people do psychotherapy and spiritual work at the same time. And sometimes they use psychotherapy for their spiritual longings. Sometimes they do therapy while they meditate.